Hey y'all, hey, we are back for another review. Let's just jump right into it. Season 1, episode 19 of Tyler Perry SISTAS. Alright, so Maurice and the musclehead dude from last episode, they tussling, they tussling back and forth, and somehow the musclehead guy gets the best of Maurice, and he basically just beats the shit out of him, and left Maurice in the bushes for dead. So this was the night that Sabrina was invited to the karaoke, to the lip syncing night, or the drag show, and Sabrina saw Calvin there. This is that same night. Alright, while Maurice is in the bushes, unconscious, or whatever his state is, Sabrina calls Danny and tells her about Calvin and everything that happened at the club and the fact that Maurice never showed up. So at this stage of the game, Maurice is missing in action. And Danny convinces Sabrina that, hey, you need to go back in the club and you need to tip Calvin. Like, don't let that bother you. Just go in there and tip him. And so Sabrina, being the gullible sheep that she is, decides to go back into the club and throws pocket change at Calvin. Classy move, I guess. So the song ends and Calvin shouts out his dad, which is not the dad that came and talked to Sabrina a couple episodes ago about Calvin actually really caring about her, but the dad that is sick. Calvin has a dad that is terminally ill or very sick, whatever the instance is, and he is on a breathing machine. And Calvin snuck his dad out of the hospital in order to perform his favorite songs for him, because he was familiar because his dad brought him to that club throughout the years. So we see his dad sitting in the front row, and he should be in the hospital, but Calvin wanted to show him a good time because we are to presume that he doesn't have a whole lot of time left. So now Sabrina feels about this big. It's about this big, and I would feel like that also, because you, instead of bothering to ask the man like, why is he there, getting solid answers, asking questions, you decided to let Danny and Xavier tell you how to respond to Calvin being at the club. So good job, Sabrina. It's raining here, so hopefully it's not that loud. All right, moving on. Karen tells the officer that the attacker's there and that basically, is there a way to sneak out. She makes them go to the front and she confronts Morris and places him under arrest. The whole time he's getting arrested, he's telling Andy, she's all kind of bitches and threatening to ruin her career and she's never going to work in that city again and blah, 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 and what the fuck ever. And the whole time that this is happening, Jasmine is there defending her friend to the end. Why y'all believe in her? She's the one that slept with my husband. One has nothing to do with the other, in my opinion. But, so that's not going to be good. Andy, Gary has basically fucked up your whole life. Sorry to tell you, but he has. So, yeah. Danny's making fun of herself about her weight. And the cowboy, kind of confirms, like, hey, there's nothing wrong with you. You're fine. You're beautiful how you are. Blah, blah, blah. Whoop-de-whoop. He basically thinks she just wants somebody to be combative with because she doesn't know how to deal with someone actually genuinely taking interest in her, which is a fact and something that I've noticed about Danny. She probably masks that with laughter and, being the hardcore one. But she does have a moment of vulnerability and lets us know that she's worked very hard to love herself and she doesn't want anybody to come in and take that away from her, which that's okay to feel that way. I understand. Alright, so Karen, Zach, and Andy are driving home. Karen and Zach are arguing as usual, and then he goes to Danny and asks her, what do you really think of me? And she tells him, you're immature, you keep, you're not really trying that hard, and you're not really trying at all. She tells both of them, that y'all need to be better people individually before you could ever try to be good to and for each other. Which is the wisest thing that Andy has said this whole season. But, girl, you are in the midst of your own crisis, so let's just settle that first. But yeah, very good advice. And then they drop her off. They drop Andy off at home. Karen walks her upstairs, and as she's leaving, goddamn Gary shows up yet again. And so she lets them hash that out. Her and Zach pull away, and they're still kind of arguing. They're still getting into it. They don't think they're gonna make it. So Karen is just like, she's resolved herself to being done with Zach for the umpteenth time this season. She puts him out of the car, and he tells her yet again, if I leave this time, I ain't coming back no more. So, let's just hope that this is final for that, because that's a whole lot of up and down, back and forth. But I doubt that it's over between them two. Sabrina shows up at Danny's and tells her about Calvin, and about his dad having cancer and that whole rundown. And then Danny puts her out because she needs another round with the Cowboys. So that was that. All right. So Karen called the preacher dude over after she put Zach out of her car, and they're talking. And he tells Karen that his wife's kids were not his. They belong, you know, they're from a previous relationship, and that they never really had a good relationship. So he has not heard much from them, and of course the in-laws aren't going to let him see them anyway. So that is an interesting dynamic. She's trying to convince him to go see a therapist, and he goes in for a kiss. And then she gets real awkward because she tells him, you know, you're in a very vulnerable state, so you're not really making sound decisions right now. So let's just kind of you know, take a back from that. Which is interesting to see that she's able to kind of think through and process her emotions and governs how she speaks to the preacher. But she don't have that same she don't have that same restraint when it comes to Zach, I guess, because there's so much hurt and there's so much back and forth that's going on. But it's interesting to see that she's capable of, you know, being cordial and being civil. But that might not happen for her and Zach. So yeah, so again, he's thankful for her honesty, and then he starts crying in her lap, and eventually falls asleep. Moving on, Sabrina's calling Maurice, but he's not answering. She's thinking about calling Calvin, but he calls her before she can, and he tells her, you know, stop. That was stupid of you to go up there throwing change at me before you knew the whole situation. At this point, I just want you to, you know, stop following me, don't talk to me, stop calling me, and hangs up on her. Which, I mean, that is also a great solution at this point, because y'all just going back and forth, and nobody has time for that. So, whatever Gary said after Karen left Andy's house was very compelling, because Gary ends up back in the bed with Andy, and he's in there making these $1 million promises, as he has made every single time he ends up in Andy's bed. And they're just chatting it up, and somebody's banging on the door, and he thinks it's Jasmine, but he gets up and goes to answer the door, and he finds out that it's the cops. So the cops are there to arrest him for battery and attempted murder. I guess Maurice kind of told them his side of what happened between him and Gary. And, you know, she's like, okay, baby, I'm coming. I'm right behind you. I'm his lawyer, blah, blah, blah. So the saga continues with Andy and Gary and Jasmine, and now Maurice. Danny wakes up, and the cowboy is not there, but he has cleaned the kitchen before he leaves. And the first thing she does is, instead of calling him to see where the hell he's at, she calls Sabrina. And, you know, tells Sabrina that he's gone or whatever. After Sabrina gets off the phone with her, she goes back to the club to continue looking for Maurice. And she finds Maurice actually laying out in front of the club, and, you know, she's hysterical and she's looking for help. So we will stay tuned to see what happens to Maurice. So he's obviously injured pretty bad. So hopefully, you know, let's just keep Maurice lifted at this point. After the pastor wakes up in Karen's lap after falling asleep, he is so thankful for her kindness, and he opens the door to leave, and Zach is standing at the door yet again. It's Zach, y'all. He came back yet again. And he's there because he left his phone in Karen's car. She throws him the keys. The animosity is back, and the saga continues. So that has been my review of episode 19, season 1 of Sistas. The new episode comes on tomorrow, so I'm very late with this video, but charge it to my head because it's very bad. But I will catch y'all in the next one. Like, share, comment, and subscribe. Peace.